Hello, welcome back. I'm John, old YouTuber. The weather is very nice outside. The sun is shining and snow. So I've been outside, record a video. Dennis. I'm gonna read about this T-64 tanks. I still have all my read lists. I'm a little bit sleepy today, and I was in this little supermarket and buy cheap frozen pizza. Just eat pizza, cheap frozen pizza. I have another one I will eat later tonight. This one I will eat later. My deep freeze is full, so I cannot have it there. I like to read about all these tanks because we have this big war in Ukraine, and they mention all these kind of like Russian tanks, T-72 or 64, 62, and all this name Leopard tanks. So this is why I did start to like to read about it. But that's many hundred PDF, and actually I like to read something else and about weapons. But now I have all this PDF and still need to read about the Challenger. It's United Kingdom, the Challenger 2 and 1 and 3. So, but let's finish. I have to stick to some kind of read list. Because if I do that, I will never be finished. So let's put some video public. Yes, I'm a little bit sleepy today, and I need that shower and the shaving. Good. Now my video is public. Let's read about this Russian T-64. Next is 62. I'm a little bit sleepy today. I have to try to adjust my camcorder. Now if the zoom is off. Yes, I need a minute to do myself ready in my bed. Yes, I have to check the sound level. Should be 50, yes.
T-64 T-64B1 Patriot Museum, Kubinka 3841581856.jpg. T-64B in Patriot Park Type Main Battle Tank Place of Origin Kharkiv, Ukrainian SSR Soviet Union Service History in Service 1966 Present Used by Sea Operators Wars Transnistria War Angolan Civil War Russo-Ukrainian War in Donbas 2014-2022 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. Kamwin and Sapu Rebellion Production History Designer designed 1951-1962 Manufacturer Milishev Factory produced 1963-1987 No built almost equal to 13,000 specifications. T-64 2 mass 38 tons, 42 short tons, 37 long tons, length 9.225 m. 30 feet 3.2 in, gun forward. The T-64 is a Soviet tank manufactured in Kharkiv, and designed by the KHMDB. The tank was introduced in early 1960s. It was a more advanced counterpart of T-62. The T-64 served in tank divisions, while the T-62 supported infantry in motorized rifle divisions. It introduced a number of advanced features including composite armor, a compact engine and transmission and a smoothbore 125mm gun equipped with an autoloader to allow the crew to be reduced to 3 so the tank could be smaller and lighter. In spite of being armed and armored like a heavy tank, the T-64 weighed only 38 tons, 42 short tons, 37 long tons. These features made the T-64 expensive to build, significantly more so than previous generations of Soviet tanks. This was especially true of the power pack, which was time-consuming to build and cost twice as much as more conventional designs. Several proposals were made to improve the T-64 with new engines, but chief designer Morozov's political power in Moscow kept the design in production in spite of any concerns about price. This led to the T-72 being designed as an emergency design, only to be produced in the case of a war. But its 40% lower price led to it entering production in spite of Morozov's objections. At present the T-64 is in use in very few nations or regions, but is currently undergoing significant factory overhauls and modernization in Ukraine. The T-64 formed the design basis of the Soviet T-83, which entered service in 1976. Overview. The T-64 was conceived at the Kharkiv Morozov Machine Building Design Bureau as the next generation main battle tank by Alexander Morozov, the designer of the T-54, which, in the meantime, would be incrementally improved by Leonid N. Kartsev's Nizhny Tagil Bureau, by the models T-54, T-54B, T-55, and T-55O. The T-64 was the first Soviet tank to use an autoloader for its 125mm gun, allowing one crew member's position to be omitted and helping to keep the size and width 3.415 m, 11 feet 2.4 in, height 2.172 m, 7 feet 1.5 in, crew 3, driver, commander gunner, armor glass reinforced plastic sandwiched between layers of steel. Era plates on later versions hull and turret 370mm to 440mm VSAP FSDS 500mm to 575mm VSHEAT. 1. Main armament 125mm smoothbore gun D81T, aka 2A46. Secondary armament 7.62mm PKMT coaxial machine gun, 12.7mm NSVT anti-aircraft machine gun engine 5 TDF 5-cylinder diesel 13.6-liter 700 HP, 522 kilowatts. Power /weight 18.4 HP /ton, 13.7 kilowatt /ton. Suspension torsion. Bar operational range 500 km, 310 mi, 700 km, 430 mi, with external tanks maximum speed 45-60 km per hour, 28-37 miles per hour, depending on version. Weight of the tank down. Tank crewmen would joke that the designers had finally caught up with the unofficial hymn, Three Tankers, a song written to commemorate the crewmen fighting in the Battle of Kark Hingol, in three-man BT-5 tanks in 1939. The T-64 also pioneered other Soviet tank technology. The T-64 model of 1967 introduced the 125 smooth bore gun, and the T-64B of 1976 would be able to fire an anti-tank guided missile through its gun barrel. Soviet military planners considered the T-64 the first of third generation tanks, 5, and the first main battle tank. 6. The T-64 design was used as basis by LKZ for the gas turbine-powered T-80 main battle tank. The T-64 turret was adopted for early T-80 tank models, with its main gun and automatic loading mechanism, and upgraded armor. The T-64 was only supplied to the Soviet Army and its successors. It was never exported before 1991. Unlike T-54/55. The tank equipped elite and regular formations in Eastern Europe and elsewhere, the T-64 model being first deployed with East Germany's Group of Soviet Forces in Germany, GSFG, in 1976, and some time later in Hungary's Southern Group of Forces, SFG. By 1981, the improved T-64B began to be deployed in East Germany and later in Hungary. While it was believed that the T-64 was reserved for elite units, it was also used by much lower-level non-ready formations, for example, the Odessa Military District S-14th Army. With the breakup of the Soviet Union in 1991, T-64 tanks remained in the arsenals of Russia, Ukraine, Belarus and Uzbekistan. In mid-2014, slightly fewer than 2,000 of the former Soviet inventory of T-64 tanks were in service with the military of Ukraine and about 4,000 were out of service and awaiting destruction in Russia. 7. Development history. Object 430. Studies for the design of a new battle tank started as early as 1951. The KB-60M team was formed at the Kharkiv Design Bureau of the Kharkiv Transport Machine Building Factory No. 75 named for Milishev, Russian, 75. By engineers coming back from Nizhny Tagil, with Morozov at its head. Object 430 prototype on display at the Kubinka Tank Museum in September 2008. A project named Object 430 gave birth to 3 prototypes which were tested in Kubinka in 1958. 8. Those vehicles had characteristics that were going to influence and radically alter the design of tanks on this side of the Iron Curtain. For the first time, an extremely compact opposed piston engine was used, the 4TD designed by the plant's engine design team. The transmission system comprised 2 lateral gears on each side of the engine. Those 2 innovations yielded a very short engine compartment with the opening located beneath the turret. The engine compartment volume was almost half that of the T-54. An improved cooling system and a new lightweight suspension was fitted, featuring hollow metallic wheels of a small diameter and caterpillar tracks with rubber joints. The tank would be armed with the D-54TS and would have frontal armor of 120 mm. as it did not present a clear superiority in combat characteristics when compared to the T-55, which was entering active service. Morozov decided that production was not yet ready given the project's drawbacks. However, studies conducted on the Object 430U, featuring a 122mm gun and 160mm of armor, demonstrated that the tank had the potential to carry the firepower and armor of a heavy tank onto a medium tank chassis. A new project was consequently started, the Object 432. Object 432. The gun fitted on this new tank was a powerful 115mm D68, 2A21. This was a potentially risky decision to replace the human loader by an electro-hydraulic automatic system, since the technology was new to Russian designers. The crew was reduced to 3, which allowed a considerable reduction in internal volume and external visible silhouette, and consequently in weight, from 36 tons, Object 430, to 30.5 tons. The height dropped by 76mm. However, the arrival of the British 105mm L7 gun and the US M68 variant of it, fitted to the Centurion and M60 tanks, forced the team to undertake another audacious premiere, with the adoption of composite armor. The recently created process was called K-combination by Western armies. This protection consisted of an aluminium alloy layer between two high-strength steel layers. As a consequence, the weight of the prototype rose eventually to 34 tons. But, as the engine was now a 700 HP, 515 kilowatts, 5 TDF, also locally designed, its mobility remained excellent, far superior to that the T-62. The Object 432 was ready in September 1962 and production started in October 1963 in the Kharkiv plant. On the 30th of December 1966, it entered service as the T-64. T-64 Object 447 at the National Museum of the History of Ukraine in the Second World War, Kyiv, Ukraine. Even as the first T-64s were rolling off the assembly lines, the design team was working on a new version, named Object 434, which would allow it to maintain firepower superiority. The brand new and very powerful 125mm D81T gun, from the Perm Weapons factory, was fitted to the tank. This gun was merely a scaled-up version of the 115mm smoothbore cannon from the T-62. The larger size of the 125mm ammunition meant that less could be carried inside the T-64, and with a fourth crewman loader taking up space as well, the tank would only have a 25-round capacity. Size was unacceptably low for the Soviet designers, but strict dimensional parameters forbade them from enlarging the tank too. The T-64 has a characteristic exhaust vent in the rear. T-64AK at the T-34 Tank History Museum in Russia increase interior space. The solution was to replace the human loader with a mechanical autoloader, cutting the crew to 3 and marking the first use of autoloaders in a Soviet MBT.9. The 6ET's 10 autoloader has 28 rounds and can fire 8 shots per minute. The stabilizer, a 2E23, was coupled to the new TPD-2-1, 1G15-1, sight. Night driving was also adapted with the new TPN-1-43 periscope, which would benefit from the illumination of a powerful infrared L2G projector, fitted on the left side of the gun. Their shielding was improved, with fiberglass replacing the aluminium alloy in the armor, and small spring-mounted plates fitted along the mudguards, known as the gill skirt, to cover the top of the suspension and the side tanks. They were, however, extremely fragile and were often removed. Some small storage spaces were recreated along the turret, with a compartment on the right and 3 boxes on the front left. Snorkels were mounted on the rear of the turret. An NBC protection